Florida Gators edge rusher Princely Umanmielen has entered his name into the transfer portal. My heart is in shambles, but we're going to talk about it here on a bonus episode of Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to a sad day. Another bonus episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Unhappy Wednesday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon, X, whatever you want to call it, Twitter X WNS_Brandon. Written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. This sucks. Princely Umanmielen hits the transfer portal, and my heart is broken. Princely, as you know, is one of the players that I was a big fan of this year with the Florida Gators. I understand that there's criticism to be had in multiple places, really. I do believe that he is also deserved of criticism as well. This does suck for Florida Gators fans, where you look at what you had on the edge this year. Princely was the primary contributor, not just the primary player, but the primary contributor there. He had the number 1 jersey. It was big. I mean, Princely had the highest grade among starters for the Florida Gators on Pro Football Focus. He had 45 pressures. Next on the team was 24. He's a big reason here that Florida really had even any semblance of a pass rush when they did. And I know that this is one that I think a lot of people weren't expecting. We'd heard that, some starters may hit. Hey, Tyler. I usually say that Saturdays are for feeling, but today, Wednesdays are for feeling as well. So Princely is entering the transfer portal. I was told about this last week, maybe a few days, maybe like over the weekend, that this decision came down to Princely is either going to declare for the NFL draft or is going to hit the transfer portal. And clearly, transfer portal was the way that it went here. And it's not something that you could spin in any way. This isn't, the freshman can replace him. This isn't, TJ Searcy is going to take his spot now. Kelby Collins is going to take the spot now. This is an irreplaceable player. This is an NFL player right here that's entering the transfer portal. And I know that we will try to spin it any way that we positively can in favor of the Gators, but there's no way to look at this. And I know that one of the reasons that we've seen Princely Umanmielen, I know that one of the reasons that we've heard rumors of a lot of players leaving, like the rumors that we've heard of Trevor Etienne leaving, part of it comes down to winning football games. That's not something that you can really convince people of. You can't really convince people to go, we can win next year. That's hard to sell because you didn't win this year and your schedule is much harder next year. So I understand it. I know that he is one of the most heavily criticized players on this roster right now. Was one of the most heavily criticized players, is no longer on the roster. And look, he had his ups and downs. I get it, but there is no way to spin this. If you want to be successful, you have to retain your best players. With Princely entering the transfer portal, with Trevor Etienne at this point also expected to enter the transfer portal, which again, the longer that gets delayed, the better it is for Florida. But with this happening, you have to retain your best players, and you're not retaining your best players. I'm not talking about Max Brown or Caleb Douglas, players that I personally liked and are entering the portal. These are your bona fide players. Okay? This is what? Second team all SEC, according to some places, first team, some places. A guy who was potentially going to be a first round pick. I would have expected him to go in the second round. I think he's a top 50 player, but gone. I don't believe that this is one of those instances where we look at NIL playing a huge factor Because when you look at it we'll liken it to the Trevor Etienne situation of the swirling there. Is that part of it's NIL, part of it's winning, part of it's playing in a better system, surrounded by better players? A lot of these things are going to have parallels. But the difference there, and the main reason that I don't believe that this is NIL related with Princely Umanmielen is, guess what? If he wanted money, if he needed money, he could have declared for the NFL draft. Okay. Chris, you could say he didn't play like a first or second round pick, but here's the thing. You're genuinely just wrong. I love you, Chris, but you're just wrong. You look at so many folks in the NFL, he was a borderline first round pick. Pass rusher that can wreak havoc off the edge. I get it. A lot of people don't like his run defense. Some of what he did in the run game is what he was coached to do in the run game. You look at the Georgia game and the week before that when I forgot who it was, posted a clip of him cutting inside and people like, you never do that. He was coached to do that. That's what it was. You talk about all the times that we've seen him set the edge and kind of just seal and just take the hit with his shoulder. He was coached to do that. He wasn't just doing that on a whim. He was coached to take the block like that. Maybe you look at coaching here. Maybe that's what it is. Florida lost Antoine Powell-Ryland last season, as in last transfer portal window going into this season. They had 10 sacks, 9 sacks this year for Virginia Tech. This isn't a thing where we can genuinely convince yourselves the freshmen are going to replace that. This isn't something where you can convince yourself of he's just genuinely not that good. This isn't one of those situations. And I understand. I'm a big Princely fan. I've been very open about that. This is one of those situations where Billy Napier and this coaching staff did not keep one of their best players on this roster on the roster. They flat out failed there. We'll talk about the replacement and how you replace him, but make no mistake that this is a game where this is a loss where Florida lost a great football player, arguably their best player on the entire roster. And you can take that how you want. You can go, oh, well, if you don't think he's that good, you can't deny he's one of the best players on the roster. So if you don't think he's that good, then you just think this roster sucks completely. Because he is one of the best players on the roster, was one of the best players on the roster. He's hitting the transfer portal. This isn't playing time. This isn't anything. He's probably going to go to a SEC school where he can still produce. And I swear, if he goes to a school that Florida plays next year, maybe it's Texas. He's from Texas. They're on the schedule next year. Maybe it's... I don't even know at this point who it could be that would be genuinely. Again, I think he's an SEC football player at the very least. Maybe you look at Texas A&M. If you look at Texas A&M schedule for next year, they do play Texas. He said when the schedule came out or the opponents came out and Texas was on there, Princely Umanmielen publicly said, "I might have to stay in school one more year to play Texas." Maybe he means play for Texas. Maybe he means go to Texas A&M and play against Texas. Maybe he means go to if he goes to Georgia, I'm going to lose my mind. I don't know where he's going, but I think he's going to go somewhere that either is Texas or plays against Texas, just based on what he said. We will now talk about how Florida can try to replace this. Because, again, you can talk about how bad the defense was and everything. That's like saying Joe Thomas wasn't good because he played for the Browns. Like, obviously, Princely is not the Hall of Fame caliber player. But that's like saying that like, oh, yeah, I'm fine losing him because the defense sucked. It's just not how things work in football, man. That's just not it. We'll talk about how Florida can replace him. Before we do that, spend a lot of time together. You and I, we get fired up on wins, losses, who starts, who sits, who hits the portal, who doesn't hit the portal. I'm thankful for the connection that we have today. I want our chat to be a little bit more personal. Whether you're on extended travel, bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply shortage. Hell, you can't even get a PS5 some of these days. You are covered, my friend. Thanks to our partners at Jace Medical. Life-saving antibiotics and a long list of daily medications can be ordered in a 1-year supply. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. If you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily med you need, go to jacemedical.com. See if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. And also today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, no better time to get in on the action. The NBA in-season tournament has been amazing to bet on. I just want to throw that one out there. Been having a ton of fun with that, ton of profit with that. LeBron, one more assist last night would have made me a lot of money. So just know I'm upset with you. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and kick off the NFL season. And remember that FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. By the way, if you're part of the Locked On Gators Insiders with subtext, links in the description below. It's 2 weeks free, $5 a month. You knew that Florida was potentially going to be losing a star player to the transfer portal. That was a thing that Locked On Gators Insiders on subtext knew. I think it was Monday, I told them, maybe Sunday. This is quite a few days ago. But this was always a possibility for Florida to lose a star defensive player. That was not a secret. But yeah, I mean, this is just there. I don't know truly how you replace that loss. I don't know if you're looking more at Kelby Collins. I don't know if you're looking more at TJ Searcy. I don't think it's Tyreek Sapp. Tyreek Sapp is going to be an F if he's back next year, along with Justice Boone. So when people keep going, oh, like Justice Boone can do it. Justice Boone and Tyreek Sapp are going to be playing the F. They're going to be playing that strong side defensive end spot. Princely Umanmielen played Jack. That's going to be TJ Searcy, maybe Kelby Collins. Maybe you put Scooby Williams back there. I think that Scooby's just better off the edge than he is as an off-ball player. And I know Tyler Fornes, love you, buddy. He mentioned it earlier, losing that 5-star. Yeah, losing Jamonte Waller hurts a lot more right now. Losing Jamonte Waller hurts a lot more than it did when he actually left. We get to, and Chris Sorley, you said, oh, like the portal has plenty of edges. What has given you confidence that this coaching staff is going to go in and grab a high quality, high impact edge player that's going to replace that production right now? I will say that I think improving the secondary and improving the linebacker room surrounding the defensive line will also help defensive line play, because you cover better. Quarterbacks have to wait longer before they find an open man. Pressure can get in. You could talk about it being LJ McCray right now. We could talk about Kendall Jackson just left the recruiting class earlier this week. He wanted to play off the edge more than anything else. That was one of the reasons that he left. Maybe you look to that. There's a lot of routes you can go here. I'm not sure which one is necessarily the best one, because I'm not sure you can truly say, hey, look at the true freshman to do that. That's a wild stance to take of Jamonte Waller even, or LJ McCray, if you want to use him as the play. It's wild to say, oh, we'll replace the all-SEC player with a true freshman. Or even TJ Searcy, Kelby Collins both played great this year for true freshmen. I'm not going to say that they're going to replace what Princely brought to the table. What gives me certainty that they won't go get better players? I'm not saying they won't. I'm saying it is bold to think that they will do that. They haven't shown the tendency to do that. It's wild to me that that's just something where we just go, oh, just go get a better one in the portal. There's great players in the portal. Will Florida go get them? I don't know. We could talk about Trey Moore from UTSA. We could say, hey, man, he's probably looking to take that step up. Those are the kinds of players that I think Florida should target. Guys who were starters. TJ Searcy will not be a third-year player next year. Those are guys who were starters and produced at their group of 5 level and could, maybe step up and be the next guy. But again, there's been nothing to show that Florida is going to be super aggressive in the transfer portal. TJ Searcy will not be a third-year player next year, Lawrence. He was a true freshman this year. He's not going to be a third-year player. That's not how things work. TJ Searcy was part of the 2023 recruiting class for the Florida Gators, which means true freshman. Next year will be his second year. So we could talk about that, but you can look at the portal, and there's just not a ton of guys that I'm looking at, and I'm like, all right, they're going to be the guys. That's my point. There's not a ton of guys that I think can replace what Princely brought to the table. There's no confidence from my side of things to look at this coaching staff and look how they've attacked the portal throughout their time here and say they're going to get a good, high quality edge player immediately. Have you seen anything that's going to tell you that that's what they're going to do? That they're going to go out and get a good, high quality defender immediately? Look at the defenders that they've brought in this year, or even last year. Cam Jackson's the only one that brought in and was an immediate high quality impact player. That's it. Manny Nunnery didn't play much until the end of the year. RJ Moulton played at the beginning and then fell off. Deuce Spurlock didn't play. Taraji Mitchell was depth the entire time. I'm not saying this is doom or gloom. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say, but I am trying to get across the point that there are not many players, if any, in the portal that are on the edge and are as talented as Princely Umanmielen was. I don't think that you're going to see him replaced in the portal right away. What I would like to see is beef up the rest of your defensive line. Again, this wasn't necessarily an NIL thing, because if he wanted NIL, he can go to the NFL draft. I know what his draft grade was. That's not what it is. But this is an instance where you're going to have to replace that talent. You have guys who can all step up, and you can all say, hey, the whole defensive line gets better, and we'll replace the pressures. We'll replace all the sacks and all the plays. But that's still something that you have to go. That's a lot of projection there, and that's where I'm a bit hesitant. But make no mistake, this is Billy Napier, this coaching staff. You need to be better at retaining your best players. It's as simple as that. Again, the options here for Princely were go to the NFL or portal. Coming back was not in the decision. So that's where we talk about, like, that it wasn't in the decision. That has to be indicative of the coaching staff, right? At least that's how I take it. So that's where we go. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. There's way more people in this random impromptu live stream. And I'm very appreciative for that. We'll be back tomorrow again. If you were part of the subtext group, links in the description below. 2 weeks free, $5 a month after that. You knew that a big transfer portal was probably coming on the defense side of the ball. A star player was probably leaving. But hey, if you didn't, you didn't. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. And I will see you all maybe later, maybe tomorrow. We'll see if there's any more heartbreaking news from the Florida Gators.